Well, hey there, folks. Welcome back to Mike Seibert Radio. I am your host, and in this episode, we're going to give you a rare look behind the curtain and provide a behind-the-scenes perspective on the return of the Monday Project on KGRG. This episode here, this is an expanded version of that same episode that you heard a couple episodes ago. So if you'd like to hear that show, that episode, The Return of the Monday Project, as it originally aired live out on 89.9 KGRG FM, go back a couple episodes in the feed to hear the polished best version of The Return of the Monday Project with me and longtime co-host Elijah. That version, the one that you heard both on the radio and here on Mike Seibert Radio podcast, was trimmed for time and was fully produced, including music and KGRG promos, and is, again, just kind of like a polished expression of what that alumni show was, again, as it originally aired and presented here on the podcast as well. This is something different. This is the raw version of the original recording of my conversation with Elijah, which includes our conversations before, during, and after the actual show that you've already heard. So it's kind of like a completed version of that. And I thought it would be fun to share here as an opportunity for you to compare and contrast, you know, kind of give you a feel for my process in terms of how I approach editing and kind of how something goes from like a raw recording into a more polished podcast. At least that's what part of my motivation was for sharing this material with you. However, I will confess that the real reason, or more accurately, the primary reason why I'm publishing this episode is twofold. And it starts with the night that our show aired live on KGRG FM. Both Elijah and I were listening, and while the show was playing, he messaged me, noticing that his vocal, his microphone sounded different. And if you go back to the version of the show that aired on the radio, you will notice some differences. You'll notice that his vocal presentation, his mic, sounds different. That the sound is a little more harsh, especially when compared to my side of the conversation. Turns out that when we connected on StreamYard, that's the platform that I use to do my live streams, as well as doing recordings, it was picking up his webcam microphone and not the microphone that he uses for Twitch streaming. And honestly, I've had similar problems myself from time to time. There are at least a couple episodes of Two Mics, Too Furious that have that same issue as well. So real quick, just a quick PSA. If you're a podcaster specifically listening to this episode and you do different forms of content, like, say, live streams or videos or traditional audio-only podcasts, or even if you're doing like remote meetings from work or doing work from home stuff, my advice to you is when you do any of that content, check your settings, specifically your microphone input. Make sure that it's set for the correct device that you want to use for that particular show or activity, especially if you toggle between devices, because like this is, again, I've lost track of the amount of times where a lame microphone on a webcam gets picked up instead of actually somebody's fancier mic, and that has happened to me personally. So just a public service announcement for you there. End of lecture. And I will also say, though, with that difference, I didn't think much of it while I was editing the show the first time around, getting it ready to air on KGRG. But when I went to go check out Elijah's Twitch channel to go check out the video, I noticed two things. One, the audio quality on his side was way better than what I had recorded, and that also his recording was longer than mine was. Turns out so Elijah does streaming on Twitch, playing video games and doing chats and things like that. We talked about this during the other episode, and you'll get to hear about it here, kind of his process as well. But for that evening, the night that we recorded, he started the stream before I started recording. So basically, he's streaming live on Twitch. I'm recording for use on the podcast. So once I saw this incongruity, what I thought I would do is try to splice the audio from both the Twitch stream and my recording from StreamYard to basically create a new cut of the show for the podcast here, a Zack Snyder cut of the Monday Project, if you will. That turned out to be far more labor intensive than I was interested in. So I gave it a go, but I very quickly abandoned that project. But still, since I did put some effort into it, I wanted to share that material with you here in some fashion, not knowing how long the video would continue to be up on Elijah's Twitch channel. In fact, I don't even know if right now if it's there or not. So that's how I landed on this presentation of the Return of the Monday Project. 2 episodes, 2 versions of the same show. This version is obviously longer, and since it's part of the recording that's already been out on the internet publicly already, I'm just going to leave everything in. So that includes all of the tea that was spilled, all of the pre-show grab ass, so much ass grabbed at both the beginning and the end of the show, as well as everything I trimmed out of the version of the show that aired, both for time and content. So there's some good stuff there for you, especially if you want to compare and contrast the 2 episodes. This truly is a raw and uncensored episode. Now, with that, before we dive in, I also want to let you know that I recently visited the KGRG studios in Auburn, Washington, and sat down with Jeff McMillan, the Director of Broadcast Operations for Green River College, as well as John Kasprick, the Chief Engineer and faculty there at KGRG and Green River College. And we talked about the legacy and the future of KGRG. It was a really fun and insightful conversation, and I'm hoping to get that published soon. You will probably hear that episode directly after this one. In the meantime, if you're interested in being on the air and learning how to do radio and podcasting, you can get live on-air experience at KGRG, the student-run radio station over at Green River College this fall. Classes start on Monday, September 25th. You learn all about radio production, broadcast technology, and the business of radio. Check out kgrg.com and greenriver.edu for more information on this unique program that means so much to me. I mean, literally, I wouldn't be here talking to you if not for my experience at KGRG. I talk about that a lot in this episode. I'll talk about it a lot in the next episode. But the foundation of what Mike Seibert Radio is comes from that foundation of being a part of KGRG. So it's always something that I will be evangelical for as long as I continue to be a broadcaster, podcaster, whatever. But for now, let's go ahead and eavesdrop on my conversation with Elijah as the Monday Project returns, raw and uncensored, right here on Mike Seibert Radio. I've been corresponding with a bunch of people over Messenger over like the last 3 days. So I'm getting rummy in terms of who I've told what.
Yeah.
But basically what John told me these alumni shows would be anywhere from like a, couple minutes. Hey, you know what? My name's Mike. I used to be on, Monday nights back in the day, blah, blah, blah. Wishing KGRG a happy 50th anniversary. It was one of the best times of my life. Bye. And you just do it on a phone or something, or something more elaborate. Like what we're going to do is, just do a dang show.
Oh yeah.
Now I don't know if we have the, I don't know how to phrase it, but basically looking to do about an hour of material. So it'd be like, like a 1 hour show. I don't think anybody was asking anybody to do more than that. Like, so I don't think anybody's doing like 3 hour shows or anything like that. That stuff's kind of off the table. But like some folks are doing like, those couple minute hits like on phones. Other folks are doing slightly longer segments, like 10 to 15 minutes. The way John told me, he's like, well, they're going from like 5 minutes to 15 minutes to a half hour to some folks doing a full hour. And I'm like, well, if you're asking, I'll give you an hour. I can give you an hour. I can give you an hour. I mean, there's so the segment idea thing, we can brainstorm that. I could be talked out of it. I guess what I was just imagining, because like John, what he had said was like more or less fully produce the show, and I could do that on my side. I'll do the editing and throw in some music and things like that. I'll submit it through Dropbox, then he'll take it and then just import it into the system and it'll just play. So the thing I asked him, I was like, well, what about like spot blocks and legal IDs and things like that? And he's like, well, if you leave a couple minutes, left over, that'll be just fine.
Makes sense.
It does make sense. So then I started thinking about, well, let's, if we're going to do a radio show, let's do it right and actually do like, kind of like planned segments. So I guess, my first initial thought was to do 4 segments. Depending upon how the flow goes, maybe we just do 2. I don't know. I think that'll just kind of come organically to us as we kind of start brainstorming here. But yeah, I was kind of thinking like 4 breaks, 4 ideas, with kind of like a emphasis, just quite frankly, on nostalgia. Just like, hey, this is what. This is kind of where I ended up. I mean, I as you could, I mean, the sun's in my face now. The sun is setting down over at over Elliott Bay. That's why I'm all washed out. But basically, I'm in the KVI studio right now.
Nice.
So I'm out. I just got off work. So I literally got off work at my radio job to chat about, how I directly benefit. Exactly. Life from like, the radio program. So I could talk about that stuff pretty extensively, but more I thought, we would just kind of talk about like the fun times we had and, just, how that was just a cool time of our lives.
I'm down.
And I imagine other folks would kind of have the same thing. Like I said, I've been messaging with all kinds of folks and, all kinds of folks talking about like, oh, they're going to like resurrect part of their old shows and things like that, which would be super rad. But
yeah, I'm just honestly, cause, as you know, I do Twitch streaming and stuff like that. So I have this stream going on right now. Hi everybody. Nice. But I kind of figured I'd give like a cool, like behind the scenes kind of view of everything. I mean, they're obviously going to hear as we talk, but so everything's good.
Sweet, I love it.
Yeah. I'm just chilling here in the room. I had to turn off the AC. It was one of those sacrifices were made type things, because it's either I can talk and have the AC going, and all you just hear in the background is just and make an awful sound, or I could just be a little warm. So that's what we're doing right now.
I love it. I love it. That's how we do. I mean, it has been so hot lately. It's crazy. I don't understand. So you're out in Ellensburg, right?
Yeah. I was about to say unfortunately, but it's actually starting to get kind of good now.
Nice. So catch me up a little bit. Kind of tell me the story. What how long you been out there? What you been doing?
So I moved out here in Ellensburg around 2020, I think. Ariel, my girlfriend, she started to go to school around 2018, 2019, give or take. And once COVID unfortunately hit, I got let off from my job over at, I can't think of the name right now. Enterprise. There we go. I got let off from Enterprise, and so I was kind of in limbo trying to decide what the next move was. And she was like, "Let's move in together." And I was like, "You know what? Why not? What's the worst that could happen?" Honestly, and the worst that can happen is she's had 3 years of trying to figure out how to tolerate me each and every day. But yeah, moved out here. It's been pretty nice. I was working at Dairy Queen for about 2 years, and it was one of those things where it was kind of just trying to make ends meet. It wasn't necessarily what I wanted to be doing with my life, but like at the same time, I don't have that same, I don't know, I will say pride, where people think that they're a little too good for working at like a fast food place or whatnot. And I kind of used that time to really like think about what I want to do with life and kind of who I am and stuff like that, and had some fun kind of soul searching stuff. And just recently actually got a job here over at Spectrum, and so now I'm part of that customer service kind of like front desk person. So people come over to me and I sell internet now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's been oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say I love internet.
Who doesn't at this time?
I love the internet.
It's kind of hard not to, because we're getting to that point where internet makes the world go.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting though seeing it from the other side, because when you're just a consumer, and your internet has gone down for the 20th time in the day, and you're just like, oh, the internet sucks, I'm going to go down to my local provider and give them a piece of mind. I could tell everyone now, we can't do anything. There's nothing that we could do in the stores. The best that we could do is swap your router, swap your equipment, and say, good luck, call a technician to come to you. That's the best that we can do. But people definitely come into our store thinking that we run the internet.
Oh my gosh, that's bonkers.
It's definitely an experience.
What's your handle on Twitch?
On Twitch, it'll be Drace34, DRAYCE34.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I tried to tag you on Twitter, and I didn't realize that your Twitter one didn't have your full last name, and so I typed that in, and I was like, this isn't right.
That's all good. Yeah, it's it was weird because like with my Twitter handle, the thing that I wanted to try to do was because like folks always run into pronunciation problems with my last name. They all call me like Seibert or whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought if I left out a letter so that they would see it's just like Mike Seibert.
Yeah.
That doesn't work because then they just get a Seibert. So that's no matter how you slice it, it's still is what it is. But
yeah, that's tough. It was funny because like I didn't realize that at first. I was like, all right, I got it perfectly fine, everything's all good. And then I was like, you know what? I should just check my Twitter. Let me just make sure I got everything right in this tweet. And I looked down, and it didn't tag anybody on that first one. I was like, huh, okay, let's go back and let's fix this. It's actually really cool. I don't know if you've been looking at any of the Twitter threads that's going on right now. But apparently one of the people that we helped get to Warped Tour for the tickets that we gave is actually, like, currently tweeting at me right now.
What?
Yeah. So I'm going to definitely mispronounce this. But they say, y'all got me into Warped Tour for free years ago. Monday Project will forever live on. Hits chest right here. And that's really awesome to be able to read.
That's super cool.
Yeah, that's like super cool to see. I'm gonna link that.
The in-game stamp. Yeah, they still interact with my stuff on Twitter too. That's
really
super cool. Yeah, so yeah, they're tweeting at us right now. Monday nights haven't been the same without you.
Yeah,
that's so rad.
That's what it.
Very cool.
Yeah, I read that and I was like, it's crazy to think that, like, because, like, I haven't communicated with them in a long enough time that, like, it's cool to be able to just write Big E from KGRG and that's just what happens. It's, like, so cool to think about, where that is. I was actually was looking through some of my old photos and pictures and stuff like that, and I had the guys from Flicker and Fade, just that video of when they did the whole power ballad for me, and they were singing and everything. I had that, and I was just like, "Yo, that's super awesome." I just saw that. Actually, I'm gonna post that in that little thread, and or at least post that on Twitter and be like, But
you
yeah,
should do that.
It was really cool. It was just really cool being able to kind of see people and hear from people that was there.
Totally. Well, and the thing that's kind of interesting about this whole alumni project thing, I posted this on Facebook, but, like, I'm friends with a lot of folks from KGRG from back in the day, and folks I haven't talked to in up to and over 5 years.
Yeah.
And so now, like, I've been working with John Kasprick in engineering and JP, and I've just been, like, reaching out to folks saying, like, hey man, do you want to participate in these alumni shows? And it's interesting the conversations I've having with folks, like, we're just picking up. You and I had the exact same experience, like, just picking up in text format as if no time had passed.
Oh yeah.
So there isn't like a, hey man, why new phone? Who dis? Why are you writing to me suddenly after over 5 years? Like, you would think any other friend group that would be weird.
Oh yeah.
But it hasn't been. It's like I've picked up with folks, like, again, like, almost like we never missed a beat. Like we picked up where we left off. It's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of funny because there's been maybe 1 or 2 years ago, we kind of did that. All right, we should definitely do a thing again. Yeah, we'll do it. And then it just fades off. We did that a couple of times, so I'm really glad that we were able to actually get it going this time.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Wouldn't miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's already a lot of fun. This is some good stuff. All this is staying in. I'm going to find a home for it somewhere.
Sounds good.
Yeah. But yeah, so since we're giving the folks kind of like a, kind of inside look here, behind the scenes look, kind of like the crafting of our show, I guess let's kind of figure out, I don't know, I guess kind of structurally what we want to do.
Okay.
Like, I would imagine, I don't know, how much origin story stuff do we need to do? I don't know if we need to.
I think what we could do, because my stream, they don't really know about me coming from radio. So what we could do is kind of like a little bit of a tie-in. You can kind of talk about how the Monday Project came to be, and then I could jump in and be like, and this is how I fit in this whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Because then that way you could still talk about it and be like, hey, this is how, like, it's that origin story, but it's not like too much origin. It's like, you know.
Right. Because, like, I mean, you know me, you've heard some of my stuff. I have multiple versions of the origin story that are varying in lengths and times.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, man, I think I think I could find a concise one there as well. So yeah, no, I like that, especially with trying to tie in your audience as well, because yeah, now that you've been doing this Twitch streaming, and actually from my side, I want to know more about it. So it's like,
yeah,
you know, I'm excited to learn about your stream as we're talking about our stuff. So I think I think that's going to be a whole ton of fun there. And then from there, yeah, I guess let's just kind of talk about the effect that KGRG had on us, you know, just kind of like, you know, going through that experience, going through it together, friendships, and just kind of the stuff that we accomplished, you know, like the you know, shows that we went to, the bands that we you know, worked with, and you know, because I mean, you know, there's a couple handful of good stories there. So I think that would be super rad. And then from there we can talk about if we want to include any music or not. Because I can, since this whole thing is going to be fully produced,
yeah,
you know, we can, you know, if we want to throw in songs, I could just do that.
Okay,
you know, just grab them and put them in. That way John doesn't have to grab them from the system or anything like that, which would be easier for folks. Because yeah, I really don't know what the state of like the, you know, the access to the system and what we can do with it and what we can't. From what I understand, after the format flip, it's going to a different scheduling system, which ironically enough is the same system that I use at work.
Really?
So it's called Zeta.
Okay.
And basically KGRG currently uses a scheduling system called NextGen.
Yeah.
And
NextGen.
Yeah. So in fact, at my work, we used NextGen up until we moved into this new building here on Lower Queen Anne in Seattle. So when we switched to Zeta, there was a little bit of a learning curve. But now it's kind of funny because, like, my experience at KGRG has followed me to work and back and forth. Like there was a time where like I was learning stuff at work and then coming back to KGRG and say, oh, hey, we could get it to do this. Like,
really?
You know, check this nonsense out. Yeah, we were, you know, doing all kinds of crazy stuff with like, remember we were having like, you know, button bars for like sound effects and, you know, all like that weird stuff that we were kind of figuring out how to do. But yeah, basically we're getting like a whole new system at KGRG, which is very similar to the same contemporary system that a lot of modern radio stations use. So again, KGRG is still kind of keeping up with the times in terms of having that relevant experience that they're teaching the next generation of incoming students, which I think is super rad. That was a very long way of saying that, you know, I'm just going to edit the songs into what we do here.
Right? No, are they going to get new equipment and everything too, or is it just same board but different software?
That would be my guess.
Okay.
I don't, unless they can get a board from somebody else, I think they're sticking with the one they got, which is fine because that board works.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's, you know, with the wood on the sides and all that. I mean, it's an old warhorse. You can, it's durable.
It's one of those ones that you don't want to touch it too much because if you do, you're going to end up with splinters. But
yeah, exactly. Whereas my board here at work, half of it's made out of plastic. The buttons are like thin plastic, and I feel like if I bang on it hard enough. In fact, I've gotten talking to by my boss before because like we have like new countertops.
Yeah.
And sometimes I like pound on the counter when I'm like super mad. And dude comes in, he's like, "You cannot be banging on the counters like that. You'll break them." And I'm like, "Break them? What are you talking about?"
That's
and
crazy.
He's like, "Look underneath. It's just cheap plywood. It's like if you pound on that hard enough, that's just going to buckle, and it's just going to be, oh my God, Stone Cold Steve Austin, he broke his non back.
Oh
he broke
no,
his back, King. And,
oh no.
So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it would be. So anyway, I've been taught to be a little more gentle with the equipment there.
I feel that. Yeah, I'm actually I have this desk right here, and it's the desk I've had ever since I was like maybe like 10 or so, and it's still kicking, but it's definitely been through some things. It's definitely on its last
through the wars.
Yeah, it's on its last leg, and that's almost a literal statement, not a figurative statement at this point.
I gotcha. But yeah, I mean, outside that, what do you want to talk about?
Honestly, it's kind of. I definitely want to know, like, because obviously we're gonna get to it for like the past or whatnot. But I've seen you've been doing some really cool things with Transformers lately, and I want to hear about it. It's been really cool, kind of seeing what you've been doing with that and things like that. I definitely want to hear about that. I also can't really think too much more. Because a lot of the things that I was going to say, like, that we could talk about, you already brought up. So.
Yeah. No, that's good. So, yeah, I think that almost sounds like that's pretty much a show there, We just kind of roll through it, kind of sort of chronologically. Because really it's kind of like, some of that light origin story stuff, and then, like, the stuff we did kind of at the height of our powers, working with bands and doing fun stuff. Chatting with, all the folks that we connected with, and then, kind of life beyond a little bit. And so that would be a great opportunity to kind of talk about, your Twitch streaming and, my convention stuff. And I think we got a full plate. So
sounds good.
What I think we should do is just run, and then like I can chop stuff up if as needed, rather than trying to start and stop and
well, because it's kind of hard, because like the way that we used to do it, it would make sense. We'd have songs that were gonna fill in. We had all like the different breaks that we had, so then we just did them according to the scheduler. But since we kind of don't really have that at our disposal, it just makes sense to just go.
Yeah, exactly. And I tell you what, that is one of the biggest challenges I still have to this day in podcasting, is keeping to any kind of schedule.
Yeah.
So, in our time, we kind of used the time as kind of a guide. We always had the advantage of never having a show on after us.
Yeah.
So we could just go as long as we wanted. And we did sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But the problem with that is, like, it ingrained bad habits in me of never knowing when to, we'll just stop when we're done. It's like, hey, guys, you want to go another hour? Sure, let's go another hour, that kind of thing. So we did, it's like sometimes our 3-hour show would go 4 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
But I've discovered that I can't keep myself to any kind of time schedule for podcasting. And the things my friends have recommended to me over and over is like, well, set a time and then keep to the time.
Yeah.
But there's something in my brain that won't allow me to see that as a true deadline. So it's like, it's like 8:45 now, and it's say, okay, well, we're going to be done at 9:45. 9:45 is going to come and go. Yeah. And it'd be like, oh, shoot, I guess I kind of missed that. Oh, whatever. It's all kind of arbitrary anyway.
Yeah.
Like, there were times that, we were doing either like show prep or recording or things like that where we had to work within, work within the boundaries of like class time. It's like, oh, shoot, we have to go to class. We have to go.
Yeah.
That kind of thing where there's like actual real deadlines, but the manufactured ones, I still I still have a really hard time with even now, which is very silly, but
I get
there
that.
I am.
I can help with that. Because the girlfriend and I were supposed to be going to IHOP after this. The plan is to try to get there not too late. So I could definitely help us cap around. We'll say 9:45, and then that'll be like the little soft cap. Like, all right, we should probably. Yeah. And then by 10, if we're not on the way, the girlfriend will definitely come and be like, hey. Feed me.
Yeah, hey, yo. I was promised food.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, shoot. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds like we pretty much got a show.
Yeah.
And so, like, when you're streaming on Twitch, are, like, comments open? Like, is the chat open to folks, like, usually, like, chat or whatever?
Yeah, so right now, so what's kind of cool about the software that I use is that it's linked pretty closely. So comments, I can see comments, and then it tells me the amount of viewers that I got going on, which the first like half hour to an hour usually it's a little bit slow. After that, that's when people kind of join up. What I was planning on doing was kind of like typing responses or whatnot, because I didn't want to ruin the flow of things by like us saying something and then someone's like, wow, you're cool, I like your show, and then I'll be like, oh yeah. So I was going to go get some ice cream, thank you for that, oh yeah, you're so great, thank you for the subscription. And anyways, as I was saying, like, I don't want to do any of that. But I have my keyboard ready. I was doing some of those little typing tests to try to see how fast my words per minute is at. We're at like 70 with about 98% accuracy. So I got my fingers ready just in case people do comment. But yeah,
nice. I love it. I love it. So we'll just kind of fumble around and see if we can find ourselves a show, and we'll just kind of go from there. And I guess from there we'll just shoot. I guess we'll just go. It is just so weird, and I run into this with all of my podcasts and live stream, because I do a lot of live stream here, like with StreamYard.
Yeah,
and so it's like I put stuff on Facebook Live and Twitter and all of that. But it's still, I haven't been able to duplicate the experience of sitting at the chair in front of the board, headphones on, staring at the scheduling screen and hitting the theme song, hearing the music in your headphones, and then just jumping on it. It's like, and it's, I've been chasing that feeling for like 6 years now. It's like, I love doing podcasts. I love doing live streams, but there ain't nothing like doing live radio. It's a very, very cool feeling. And it's a feeling that's difficult to describe for folks that may not have done it before, which is why they need to go to Green River College and sign up for the broadcasting program. Go to greenriver.edu. See, I'm practicing. I'm trying to get my feet back under me. How much of that stuff I kind of come back and remember, but yeah, man. I guess I'll just kind of pretend that I hear some music and I guess we'll go in. Well, how do I want to intro this stuff? I haven't even really thought about it. Well, because I almost introduced it as Mike Seibert Radio, and it's not that. Okay, I think I got something. Something.
Okay.
All right. Let's go in 3, 2, 1. Hey, welcome back to 89.9 KGRG FM, the Alumni Shows. My name is Mike, and I am here to tell you about I'm really hating how this starts. Now, if we were doing this live, we would just roll through it. And I'd just be like, I get my feet under me and all that other stuff. And the thing that sucks about recording is that, I mean, again, that mindset, I allow myself to just be like, screw it. I'll just do another take. Yeah. All right. Well, let's try this again. We'll go in in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Today's Rock on 89.9 KGRG FM, and keep up with everything going on with KGRG at the website kgrg.com and our brand new app so that you can stream Today's Rock anywhere you go. My name is Mike. Once upon a time, I held this seat on Monday nights and started a show called The Monday Project. And we thought for these alumni shows, for this Alumni Week celebration, as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the founding of KGRG at Green River College, we thought we would kind of get the band back together and do some alumni shows for you. But I could talk by myself, in a room by myself, to myself, as much as the day is long, but it's far more interesting. Radio's funner when you got friends. So I thought I would reach out to the co-founder of the Monday Project. It's the one and only Elijah. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me. I am glad to be here.
Nice. Well, so we're going to do a couple things over this show that we're going to do. And again, we've been invited back to participate in these alumni celebrations as we celebrate, again, the 50th anniversary of KGRG. And we thought what we would do is tell some stories, talk about our time at the radio stations, talk about our time taking classes, and kind of reflect on the impact that this program and this radio station has had on us, because it's, for me at least, and a lot of my other friends, it's radically altered the course of our lives.
Oh yeah.
And in fact, actually, I'll just kind of jump in and just kind of tell a little bit of the Mike After Dark origin story and kind of lead to how we end up with the Monday Project. I back in 2015, I was a Green River College student. I was part of the IT program. I was looking for a second career. Yeah. I needed a change, and going back to school as an adult was something that really appealed to me.
Yeah.
And one of the advantages of going back to school as an adult is you kind of have a better work ethic. Like I got through high school on the skin of my teeth. I'm not traditionally a very good student, but something about the community college experience really stuck with me. Like, seeing like the cross section of diverse people, different backgrounds and age ranges. I felt very much at home. It felt like a really good experience. So, I did very well in the IT program and in my academics. But one day, in the last quarter of the end of my degree, I was going to graduate in June. Well, I did graduate in June, yeah. But I come out of one of my classes, and you've probably seen these bulletin boards in the hallways of colleges or wherever you are. And I saw a sign on the bulletin board, and it was a picture of a couple younger folks. One of them was pushing up sliders on a control board, and the other one was talking into a microphone. And in big letters that almost looked like it was like, the "you wouldn't steal a car" font from like the early 2000s, but you wouldn't, downloading is piracy, that kind of thing. I thought it was like in that font, and it said like, "be on the radio, KGRG." And I was like, wait a second, our Green River College has a radio station? Turns out it had the entirety of the 3 years that I was there in that IT program. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea that the Today's Rock format had been almost 30 years old at that point, and that and times later, they would be 50 years of KGRG and the radio station at Green River College. So I had no idea of the depth of the history at that point. KGRG is an institution.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that a little later, kind of like the lasting legacy and impact. But for me, it was like, I've been a fan of radio my entire life. And I was like, well, shoot, I need something to do over the summer after I graduate, before I take my brand new degree from the college and I go find a job in the IT field, because I really took to campus life. It really made an impact on me. So I signed up for the radio classes. At the time, there was a podcasting class and a radio lab class. I took both of them at the same time, back to back. And the longest story shortest is that I got bit by the bug.
Yeah.
As soon as I started touching the controls and talking into the microphone and crafting my own air breaks and my own content, it felt right. It felt special. And that summer altered the trajectory now I'm like 7 years later.
Yeah.
I think I could say it altered the trajectory for the rest of my life. Whatever path I was on before, that summer I became a broadcaster, and I've never looked back since. So from there, basically you're operating the controls week 2 of the coursework.
Yep.
So I'm being a baby DJ, kind of cutting my teeth and learning the ropes, and did some bad air breaks with like the volume turned up too loud, the music was too loud, yelling into the microphone the wrong direction. Bad habits I still have now today.
Oh, of course.
I still run my levels way too hot. It's it cracks me up even in my day job. But I founded a number of different radio shows and hung around with a great many folks, mentored a great many folks, and it was a very special time for me. And the time that the era we're going to talk about tonight is the Monday Project, where basically like I was nearing the end of my time at KGRG, and I wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something that I thought could last beyond me. So because I had started a show, called Mike After Dark, and then later with the co-host Mickey, and we called it Mike and Mickey After Dark. Not even thinking of the uncomfortable connotations of like a 35-year-old man and a 19-year-old teenager talking about how they're after dark on the radio. Didn't even occur to me.
Of course not.
So I wish somebody had tapped me over the shoulder and said, "Hey man, do you really want to maybe rethink that?
Are you sure about this?"
But we had a great time, and the nature of KGRG is that it's transitionary. Folks kind of come in, do their time, hone their craft, learn their skills, and then move on to other opportunities. And so I wanted to found a new show with kind of like a fun twist to it. And I had always been on Monday nights.
Yeah.
So I had accidentally become like the deep Monday night guy, usually like 10 to midnight or something like that. And then later as time went by, we went earlier and earlier.
Oh, yeah.
So I think Elijah, when you and I are on, we were on like 7 to 10 or something like that, if I remember correctly. Okay. And then occasionally later.
I was gonna say, so our scheduled hours were 7 to 10. We were averaging more like 7 to 11. That was how it was.
That's right. I remember now. But when Elijah, you and I started doing the Monday Project, it was a really special time, and we made a lot of great friends. We've made friends with cool bands and went to cool shows.
Yeah.
Bashed some cars and just did like all kinds of cool stuff. But I guess that for folks that are listening now for the first time, because every show is somebody's first show. Yeah. that's kind of the beginnings of my origin story at KGRG, and I'll tell you a little more about kind of what became of me later on, as we go. But we've been talking for several minutes now, almost like I get paid to do this for a living or something like that. Elijah, why don't we talk about how kind of you came into this world of KGRG, and how did you end up being associated with me?
Yeah, so I actually kind of have a little bit of a similar background. When I first was going to college, I was going to Renton Technical College, and there I had an IT background, graduated with my AA, and I originally was going to try to carry that on over at Green River, get my bachelor's in IT, go off and do that corporate life, the I say 9 to 5, but when you're in IT, you're on 9 to whenever we call you. So that was what I was going to originally do, and for whatever reason, we still will never know. When I tried to transfer, I got denied. They didn't want to accept me to the program. That's neither here nor there. We could talk about that at a later time. But I was kind of stuck in limbo. I was trying to figure out, where am I going to go from here? And the backup thing was, I was like, you know what? All right, we'll try to do sports journalism. That was the idea. That was the goal. I really was like, you know what? I can figure out how to become a sportscaster. And I saw that there was a radio, and I was like, okay, well, we'll see. I was doing all of my gen eds at that time. I was doing like music theory and all kinds of weird stuff. And I saw the radio and I was like, you know what? I need one more class. Let me just throw something in. It's going to be a long shot. I'll go there maybe for a class, think it's okay, and then I'll be fine. And kind of how everyone says, you get bit by the bug. I went into the KGRG, I guess what, KGRG 1 was the radio lab?
Yeah,
was it?
the AM station.
The AM station. And
your classic alternative.
I started in there, and you kind of do things a little bit different there. There's a lot less of the actual controlling the board and the station. You're doing a lot more of like your pre-recorded stuff, being like, hey, this is kind of who I am, and kind of you get that taste. And I was like, I like this, but I need more. And I actually ended up going in and switching my degree path towards that broadcast journalism degree, and I had switched over. I got into that basic class where you could start doing the air breaks and stuff like that on the main KGRG, and I was like, you know what, this is super cool, but like, I don't know what else I could do from here. And it was like the off season for the basketball team. I don't know anything about wrestling or anything like that. And I was like, you know what, I don't know what to do. And I had met you because you had joined in one of the classes. You were kind of doing one of those alumni, hey, I know you, or hey, the radio knows me. This is what you can do at the radio. And I was like, all right, cool. And at the time, you were looking for like a second webmaster because you were trying to do your show, do webmaster stuff, do all of it basically. You're looking for that, and so I was like, all right, I could talk to you about that. And then the more I talked to you, I was like, all right, well, he has a show. I'm looking to join a show because one of the classes, I don't know if it was like required, but I know that you can become a trainee on one of the shows. And so I was like, yeah, this seems like something that would be kind of fun. And I went from, just kind of being that person that kind of hid in the production room, kind of talking or whatnot, to being like, all right, I want to be a part of this.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, and it's kind of funny because I had forgotten about some of those steps on your path, and I remember we were working on website stuff together, and it does kind of warm my heart a little bit that the website, the KGRG website, KGRG.com, is still largely the same format that we set up. Like there's been some cosmetics changes and some stuff moved around and things like that, but structurally, it's still the same website that we set up all those years ago, which I like to think is a testament to the good design that we put out there to begin with. I won an award for that, actually. And it was so weird. One of the things that we do is we celebrate our accomplishments at the end of that academic year. So over the summer, I think the awards banquet is like in June, July, or August, or I don't remember when. But basically, we vote on, who had the best show, who's the rookie of the year. And the year that we rolled out the new KGRG.com, I won the award for Department of the Year for Webmaster. Yeah. And I remember I actually learned a lesson that evening, because I remember being kind of beside myself. One, I was incredibly flattered, but I was also like, guys, this isn't a real department. The web isn't a department, like in the traditional, kind of like radio hierarchy. So I remember being in my humility, not being entirely gracious about it. I was like, guys, what are you doing? It's like, programming, promotions, traffic, all these things are quote unquote real departments. And the thing that I learned is to be gracious at all times. If somebody says thank you, the least you could do is say you're welcome. Oh yeah. Because if you don't, that's disrespectful to the person that's thanking you. Yeah, for sure. So that was a lesson I carried with me, and I learned a lot of that through the content that I did for KGRG. As I said, I did a number of shows, and then eventually led to podcasting. I now host my own podcast, Mike Seibert Radio Podcast, and as well as it's a spin-off podcast, Two Mikes, Too Furious, which we can talk about a little later if we've got time. But basically, I still run into, when folks run into me and they say, I'm a fan of your stuff, that imposter syndrome sneaks in, and I was like, why? Or I'm sorry. And it's like, but no, you can't have that attitude, because think about the things that we love, the things that we're fans of. And if we rolled up to that person who's creating that content and saying, I like your stuff, and their attitude is like, what's wrong with you? Why do you like this? That's disrespectful to them. And because it's like, you don't want to make people feel bad for the stuff that they like. Exactly. So it's like those are lessons that I've had to learn along the way, including at my time at KGRG as well as beyond, because I've always had a bit of that imposter syndrome complex a little bit. Like, I like doing stuff, but I don't always think that it's quote unquote good. Yeah. I remember one of my outlook on my content when I was at KGRG is like, well, I could do a fun show or I can do a good show. I don't know if I could do both, so therefore I choose fun. Yeah. And our show kind of earned a reputation as quote unquote the fun show. That's where people would go to hang out and have fun. Like, we had a rotating cast of folks from other shows, other DJs, other hosts. And they wanted to hang out with us because they know we would just have fun. Oh, and it's interesting talking about kind of like the format of a radio show. Like, there is a lot of planning that goes into it. There's a lot of coordinating that goes into it. Like, how many hours did we burn writing stuff on a dry erase board and erasing them and moving them around and putting arrows and it's not. It's, even when I say things like we had fun, there's this misconception that, we just turn on the microphones and just talk. And there's a lot that goes into it, even though that's what it sounds like. Oh, yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, even this, it sounds like we're just kind of winging it. But we actually, put some thought and coordination into, the structure and order of how we're going to cut loose, this kind of things. But but yeah, no, we just had so much fun during our show, to the point where when it was, I believe, 2017, I had just recently left the show, and I had left you the keys and put you and Donna the Dez. Oh man, Dez. Kind of put you guys in charge. I went off to go, work at a pro radio station, corporate radio station. We won Show of the Year.
Yeah.
And that still is amongst my top KGRG experiences, if not the top, because like when you get that recognition from your peers, that's incredibly validating. And we beat the morning show, and no matter the format of radio, and I may dip into like insider talk that I hope doesn't lose folks, but like usually the morning show is your flagship show. The sun rises and sets on the morning show. That is, kind of like your anchor that you kind of build a station around, and that, our peers voted for us to give us that recognition was incredibly humbling and just incredibly validating. And it was nice that, that we got to share that experience together. It was pretty terrific.
Well, especially because, like, for me, I had just got on as an intern. I remember that it was not trainee intern. They were very, very specific about that at the radio. You were not an intern, or if you were not, when you got onto the show, you were not a trainee, you were an intern. Because the idea was that you would learn for a quarter, and then after that, you'd go on and do your own show. And I remember we got to that point where my quarter of internship was done, and I had, I think I got intern of the quarter, which was crazy for me because I was like, I'm just a dude. I'm just had that same idea. I had that, all I did was just show up and talk for 3 hours. Like, for me, I didn't really have that mindset of like, oh, I was going to go out and do that. So when I got that, I was like, this is crazy. And we had that talk. You're like, all right, if you're ready, you can go on and do your own show. And I was just looking at you like, are you crazy? Well, why would I do my own thing when everything here is already so good?
Right. Well, and that's kind of the best thing that I remember about my time at KGRG, and really kind of like the structure of the way that we did our shows. Certainly the way I did my shows is like, it was always kind of like the student becomes the master to teach the next round of students. Like we had a really good rotation of interns that came through our show, and I got to experience the full thing. Like I kind of hit for the cycle. Basically, I started off as a baby DJ, interned on a show, the post-rock show, The Post, that you will be able to hear the return of The Post during these alumni shows. JP's got some really cool stuff that he's cooking up. I'm really excited to listen to that. Actually, I enjoyed my time on that show, and it was always like a really good, high quality show. But anyway, so yeah, stay tuned for more details on that as they become available. But basically, I entered, kind of done growed up, and went off and kind of did my own thing. I had a DJ shift that basically kind of accidentally became its own show. Because really kind of like the trajectory for students was, you could be a DJ and talk about the music and talk about the concerts and talk about campus life and all that. Or there was another path that was specialty shows. And basically, with being a music station, it would be usually centered around a subgenre of rock, whether it be post rock and everything that goes under that umbrella, or heavy metal, like what Killing Spree was doing with Heavy Metal Late Night Death,
Yeah.
Or what Trevbot was doing with Dead Air. Dead Air is also returning during these alumni shows, and kind of getting into more the hardcore scene and everything that I learned so much about subgenres during my time at KGRG, to where even now when I talk to folks, I could drop just a little bit of knowledge. A lot of it kind of like when you know stuff and you like, you know, memories are like muscles. If you don't use them, they kind of atrophy and fade.
Yeah.
So my depth of knowledge of pop punk has kind of faded. Like, I mean, to the point where I could still drop to friends of mine that will say like, "Oh, hey, that's pop punk." I'm like, what kind of pop punk are we talking about? Are we talking about like the sad emo kind? Are we talking about the pizza kind? Are we talking about the hometown kind? It's like you got to narrow it down for me, because I do remember a thing or two about a thing or two.
Yeah, for sure.
But that was like an incredible time of music discovery, and really, what my show ended up becoming was like a little bit of everything. You know, there was a degree of music discovery. Like, I brought in nerd rock, nerdcore music.
Yeah.
I even playing like some chiptune at some point, and, you know, like video game music, and just like all kinds of like weird stuff that I would be in there, as well as supporting our local homies in the scene. Like, I would do interviews with, you know, local bands and play local stuff and talk about local shows. So
Yeah.
it became this thing that was kind of like weirdly ill-defined, but people just knew that they liked it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was gonna say, and like, it was really cool, and you know, what touched me the most is like being able to kind of learn from that. And then when you ended up leaving the show, it was a tough decision for me, because it was one of those things where I could keep the Monday project going, but I was like, it's funny because I remember when the Monday project, like when you were leaving, I was so worried. I was like, oh, I don't know, I don't want to keep the Monday project going and then tarnish your legacy or whatnot. And you're just like, dude, like, we are the Monday project. Like, what made it so crazy was like, it was the idea that it was going to change, it was going to evolve, it was going to, you know, it was going to be something different. And so I was trying so hard, like the first like week or two, it was just me and Dez, and I was trying so hard to be like, all right, here's the Monday project, we're going to just go through this, go through that. And I remember Dez and I were just sitting there, and it was we were watching some basketball, and I was like, Dez, why don't we do our own thing? And he's just like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
It was definitely, and it was kind of cool because we had that same idea, we had that same base. We're going to make it a talk show. We're going to talk about all the things that we did. We had our, you know, the weekly roundup and things like that. We still kept those little things in, but we were like, okay, this is what we want to talk about. This is what we're going to do with our lives, you know. We talked about all the stuff that we're doing, especially like when he had his birthday, we all went and hung out and all that fun stuff. We talked about all kind of different things, and it was like interesting because the more that the show was going on, there was never that feeling of like, oh, this is Monday Project Part 2 or anything like that. It just felt like it was the Monday Project. It just felt like it was just another episode. And it was really awesome to be able to have that experience.
Well, and that's why I chose that name. It's like, you know, it's always under construction.
Like,
you know, much
station.
like our studios were at the time. I mean, you remember that was like a death trap at one point. Like there was like some like HVAC. There was like spinning blades. It looked like Mortal Kombat in there for a while. Getting the death pit. It was those construction years were pretty wild. But yeah, no, it was always that constant evolution. And the thing that made my heart so happy is that you and Des were so excited to carry that on, and it made me feel good that the show continued on without me.
Yeah.
And not only that it continued on without me, but that it continued to evolve. Like one of the things, I mean, it was a double-edged sword. It was kind of weird, but also kind of awesome. I remember I was invited up for Desmond's last show.
Yeah.
And there was a half a dozen co-hosts up there, and I didn't know who a damn one of them was.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and it made me feel good because it's like, oh, this is the future. The future is continuing. The future is now.
Yeah.
And when you get to a certain age or a certain point in your life, that's what you want to see. You want to kind of see a legacy continue that might not even include you. So it's like, like I said, it was kind of weird from like a social standpoint, but it was also awesome that I didn't know who any of these people were, that like, they were like, so new and fresh on the scene. So yeah, that's the best that we can hope for. And if I remember correctly, even the history of the Monday Project even kind of outlives you. Like it even kind of went beyond you for a while.
Yeah, that was that's kind of funny because I'm not sure how to like bring it up the right way, but it was interesting because when I ended up leaving the show, the host that I had passed it to, we wouldn't say we had like clashing ideas because we actually had a lot of like good chemistry and stuff like that. But it was the way that we wanted to run the show was like very different, and I was like, no, but this is how you run talk radio. This is how you this and this, and I was like getting to the point where I was like, oh, maybe it's just time for me to just go. And it was like I'm trying to like grasp at straws. I'm like, no, this is how you're supposed to do it. Like I was the one who ran the show, like blah, and it's just like, you know what? This is okay. It was one of those things where it was like maybe it's time for me to kind of realize that I should take a step back. The show was gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay. Like there's no worries and everything like that. And I think it was what was best for the show at the time too, because then Emmy, the one who took the show after me, she was able to really kind of just say, you know what, this is the direction that we're gonna go, and she made it work. She had her own interns, and she definitely had it was kind of interesting, like, how different it was, because, like, when it was me and you, we had, like, a bunch of, like, nerd stuff that we talked about what was going on throughout our lives and whatnot. When it was me and Dez, the show kind of had more of, like, a playful banter type thing, where, yeah, we talked about a bunch of stuff or whatnot, but it was mostly about what our experiences were at, like, the college and things like that, and just how life was. And then, when Emmy took over, it was it wasn't necessarily like that nerd side, but it was more of like a gamer type of thing. They had a lot of gamer stuff, and they had a lot of, which is kind of ironic, being that I do what I do now. But she definitely was like, all right, let's try to get a more modern approach to talk show. And so it was like I was kind of realizing that I was like, it's what I joke around about sometimes in the esports scene is that I am a young person, but I am old for the scene that I'm around. And definitely I felt that way because Emmy was like, oh no, this is what's trending, and I'm like, trending? What is that? And she's like, no, this is what's going on Twitter. I'm like, going on Twitter? I was like, dude, my friends on Facebook are telling me this is okay. And then she was like, Facebook? Who are you? It was definitely,
I will tell you, because like we ran into like some social media stuff during our time. I didn't get on Facebook until 2 years after I had been gone from KGRG, because there was always like, oh man, we posted this in the management group, and I wasn't trying to be like super cool or whatever, but like Facebook did not appeal to me, and really it took some real family stuff going on in my life to make me realize, oh, that's where my family is. You know, it's like that is a quick and easy way to connect. And whether, the curation of content is boomer centric or not, your mileage may vary. Even working on this Alumni Shows project, almost all my correspondence has been through Messenger.
Yeah.
So I can't be mad at Facebook for that, because it has connected us in a way that I don't know if we would have in other platforms. Like I'm in a bunch of Discord servers. I've got a decent Twitter following. Oh yeah, well, and it's all Transformers related stuff. We could,
I get that.
I'm sure we'll unpack some of that later as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so like actually Discord is pretty dope, but like it doesn't have like that same. It's not the same, more or less.
Yeah.
But this portion of the show brought to you by Facebook. Try Threads or not, whatever. But no, it's interesting, you know, and I think we'll talk later in the show kind of about kind of like life after KGRG and kind of like the trajectory where we went, because like, you know, I want to talk about what you've been doing with your Twitch streaming.
Yeah.
I could talk about the stuff that I've been doing in podcasting and going to Transformers conventions, as well as working in commercial radio. In fact, I'm still working at the same radio station professionally here in Seattle that I did when during the time at KGRG. In fact, it's funny, and I've told this story a number of times. I guess I'll tell it here now because it's a funny story for folks that were there. But like, I was in a class with Charlie Harger, who is now the news director of Cairo News Radio.
That's awesome.
So at the time he was a reporter for Como News Radio.
Yeah.
And he came to me one day and he's like, so Mike, there's an opening position for a board operator over at Como, and I think it would be a really good fit for you. And I'm like, yeah, sure, Charlie, whatever. I'll look into it. Whatever. And because like I wasn't necessarily, I think I had a year on my degree still yet to do. Like I still had to take like marketing 101 or business 101 or like, you know, all the lame classes that everybody saves for the end. But I was determined to finish my degree. So, you know, I, as well as some exciting radio and broadcasting classes. But anyway, he tells me, I wasn't looking for a job. That was my point there. And he's like, well, there's this great opening. I think it would be great for you. I'm like, sure, Charlie, whatever. And he's like, no, you don't understand. And he clasps his hand on my shoulder like a concerned uncle. And he's like, I've already been in contact with the program director over there. He's expecting to hear from you by the end of the week. Get your resume in order.
Jeez.
And from there, it was a whirlwind, because what I came to find out is that they needed somebody yesterday, figuratively. Yeah. Like they had some staff turnover, and they had some real gaps in their staff. So I go and interview. The interview went really well, but and ultimately I got hired for Saturdays.
Yeah, just
Saturdays. And then later, Saturdays become Saturdays and Sundays, and later became Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Next thing I know, I'm working full time. And hop, skip, and a jump, 7 years later, I've now been the producer of a afternoon show on a heritage news and talk station here in Seattle for the last 2 years now. So and all of that is literally because of my time at KGRG. One, that connection that I made with Charlie, that, you know, he thought I was a good fit for that role. And incidentally, the program director there had said, well, we have all of these other qualified candidates with more experience. Mike seems like an okay guy, but what experience does he have? And Charlie says he's our kind of guy. He's a KGRG kid, and just even the name KGRG has weight and significance in the industry, because like you go to larger radio conference, and you could talk about Green River College and KGRG, and people know it nationally. Like the broadcasting program at KGRG is nationally known because it's one of the few programs in the country that the students run the radio station from programming all the way down to board operation and promotions and sales and basically it's, I joked it's radio for the kids by the kids, but it's literally that, in that the students run the radio station, choose the music and things of that nature. But there are terrific radio programs around the country. There are terrific college radio stations throughout the country. KGRG is one of the only few with the collaboration with Green River College that puts them both together to where you're putting students on mic on the board in week 2 of classes. And that experience is what won me the job. Yeah. Because that I had that extra leg up in terms of my experience. So I didn't have professional experience, but the college experience. And again, everything is 100% transferable. I go to work and the control board is exactly the same as the one it's a little bigger, had a few more buttons to it, but fundamentally was the same. There's buttons, there's sliders, there's different channels. And we were using the same scheduling system, a system called NextGen. So at my corporate radio job, they're using the same thing as we're using on KGRG. So what that did was it enhanced my experience at KGRG for the last year I was there. Basically, I would learn stuff at KGRG, then I would go to work, learn stuff at work, and then bring it back. I remember I was showing you a bunch of stuff about oh, hey, look at this cool thing I learned at work. And that is my very favorite thing of the KGRG experience, is taking what I learned and passing it on to others. And I even saw that in our time where you and I in tandem are teaching new interns, and they in turn are teaching folks. Yeah. There's no better feeling than that.
Yeah, no, especially because one thing that really was awesome for me is that when I was actually having my own kind of interns, they also had me doing training people at the station. And it was really kind of interesting because at first I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do, how I'm going to even train people. I just got done maybe a quarter ago. And then you realize that over that time where you get that quarter done and you start training people, is that you don't realize just how much you actually learned while you're actually in training. And the more that you try to teach to other people that are other operators, the more you're actually end up finding out. When we had my favorite thing, I'll make this kind of quick. My favorite thing about training was doing the what did we call them? The board tests, where we had to basically...
the board op test, yes. Oh my gosh.
Where we had to basically... So the way that we did our board op tests was that we had to find a way to basically, quote-unquote, break the radio station, sure. But you had to do it so that the live radio was fine. Well, or at least that's what I was told. You wanted to keep the live radio fine, but you wanted to have... you wanted everything else to look like everything is going off and they don't know what to do. And I remember when I did one of my board tests, I ended up playing what was it? I ended up playing the Thomas the Train theme just on repeat, and I had something else going on. And the thing is that when you were a trainer, you couldn't do the board test for your own trainees because it's kind of a bias thing. At least again. This is as much as I'm trying to remember it. It was a little bit ago. But it was funny because, I was getting one of my board tests ready, and what was it? I think it was Ben who said that no one was able to pass his test or whatnot. And so sure. I wanted to have a test that was just like at that level, but maybe just a little nicer though to people. Not too bad. And I remember the first person that like failed one of my board tests, they were just like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, oh, you just click that, click all that stuff, boom, the board's clear. And they were just like, you do it like when you get into that zone, you don't even realize that you're in a zone. You're just like, it literally feels like, you know, that you're in the Matrix, or like those really cheesy movies that's a sci-fi movie where the guy is like hacking into the computer and he's just like, I'm in. Like, you have that awful, like, awesome feeling. And like, it was really fun for me being in so much of a zone that like, it took me like maybe 5 minutes to set up my board test and be like, all right, it's ready for you. And then just be able to go in and just like 2 seconds later be like, boop, boop, all right, yep, we're good. It was definitely my favorite thing, especially because it was my favorite thing doing my actual board tests. I'll be honest, I don't remember what happened with my board test, but I just remember like, because you sit there like after you're done and you just have that moment of like, I did it, like, because that's what you need to do to be able to actually like intern. Well, I don't know if you had to do it to be an intern, but that's how you do it to be able to do your own specialty show.
Yeah, to operate the equipment unsupervised. Yeah, basically, like if you can get through this problem solving test of trying to cure the radio station and control board of all of the technical woes a veteran student has placed there, these challenges 3, you know, then you can operate the equipment by yourself. And I would say during our time, we became increasingly elaborate with the problems that we created, problems that would never really happen in reality. Yeah. But it is interesting in my professional job, there is sometimes where it's like, I'm like, where is that coming from? Turns out somebody left one of the other computers on and there's like a autoplay ad type of thing. Yeah. Very similar to some of the challenges that we set up. It's like, oh man, somebody left the prod room turned on, you know, that kind of thing. So, so those things do kind of happen occasionally. Real quick, I do want to mention that, you know, one of the, you know, I work at a professional radio station now, a corporate radio station, but one of the things that I have brought from the KGRG experience to my pro job is the unexpected John Cena meme. I've brought that out in there. And I brought DJ Khaled with me as well. Yo, another one. Congratulations.
Oh, no.
So basically what had happened is I was at KGRG from 2015 to 2017. So basically my meme culture froze at that point. Yeah. So it's like, I mean, yeah, I know current memes, but like what really crystallized for me was 2015 memes, which were already stale by the time they got to me. So, but now like where I'm around a bunch of like older adults, now my stuff sounds like cutting edge, even though I'm talking about DJ Khaled memes from 2015.
Oh yeah.
So I fit right in, and it cracked me up too, because during our classes, we learned a lot about music radio and how to build clocks. And, you know, one of the perspectives was like, you know, to be a good radio DJ, you want to be a part of the scene, but you don't want to like overshadow the music, which is what people are there for. Yeah. And I always bristled at that. And I actually got into arguments with the well, not arguments, discussions. Yeah. Passionate discussions with the instructor there. And I'm like, but I listen for personalities. I want to hear what that DJ has to say about any given topic. So, and I always was just bashing my head against that, not getting it, not understanding it. And it wasn't until that I worked at a news and talk station that it clicked. Oh, I like talk radio, you know, so which has helped me through podcasting. But this whole time, and really my legacy for my time at KGRG is that I normalized evening talk. for good or ill, because by the time the final form of the Monday Project was, they weren't even playing music. It was all talk. We at least play songs, and spot breaks and legal IDs and all that other stuff. And I'm just like, because I remember I was a guest on one show, and I'm like, do we have a break coming up? You play some Green River announcements?
Dude,
or
that's how
KGRG, just something. I'm like, oh, we're just going to talk for an entire hour. Okay.
Yeah, well, and that's
just trying to go with the flow there. But
I was gonna say that was what was funny, is because I think that would have been more towards when I was kind of like that, almost a guest too. It was like one of my last episodes, and I was funny because like me and you, like I was in, I had you in prod, I was on board, and Emmy was like in news, or not news. I can't think of what we called the other room.
Probably the control room. Oh, the newsroom.
Was it the newsroom?
I don't know.
Dude, I don't remember.
There are three rooms. There's the control room, the newsroom, and the prod room.
Okay.
The production room.
Okay, she was in the prod room. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And you were in the newsroom. I was on the board. And like halfway through the what's it called? Halfway through, I remember I had clicked on to make it, because like you could, there wasn't necessarily a quote-unquote private channel. I mean, that's not really how that worked. But there was a way that you could talk to specific rooms. And I remember,
talk back, like an intercom, yeah.
Yeah. I remember, like, halfway through, I was just like, you were looking at me, and I was looking at you, and I was like, are we still here? I was like, I'm 3 bathroom trips away, or worth of time away from leaking my pants. Like, can someone please help me?
Just play some music or something.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what I was saying when I said that me and that host at the time didn't have necessarily the same ideals, is because like we'd be able to talk for like an hour, and I'd be like, we'd get done with that hour, and I'd like finally put us on the ad break, and it's like, I don't know if you ever seen the meme, it's SpongeBob, and he's just like deeply breathing, he's just like against like the glasses, like that was how I felt every time. I was like, I don't think I have enough in the tank for this.
Yeah.
And I think that's I agree with that.
Well, as we get closer to wrapping up this, we could talk for hours.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we used to do a 3-hour show together. This 1-hour format doesn't feel like quite enough. So, unfortunately, we're going to try to cram a lot in these last couple minutes. But we got to talk about some of the best times we had. Like, we made some friends with bands and had a great time. What are kind of some of the highlights for you?
Okay, so I have 3 main ones. I'm gonna do one of them quickly, and then one of them I'll actually get more into depth about. But surprisingly so, one of my favorite episodes that we had, there was a band that we were interviewing. I don't know if they ended up playing or not. We set them up so that they could play, but we were to interview them. And, like, we both had that mindset of, like, all right, this isn't necessarily us, but we're going to kind of figure this out anyways. And that band came on, and we weren't really feeling their energy. They didn't really kind of mesh with the show. And, like, I remember, like, once they left, it was, like, that sigh of relief for, like, it was like, oh, okay, thank God this is over. And we just stayed on. We didn't even go back on the air. We just stayed in the room, and we talked for like a good half hour of like, never again.
We just hung out. Yeah, I remember that.
For before Stream starts to try to ask me questions and be like, oh, who was it? We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
I don't even think they're a band anymore, so it doesn't even matter.
No. But I'd have to say one of my favorite memories was, I can't remember if at that point they were Flicker and Fade, or if they were These Young Fools. I can't remember what name they were at that point. But it was when we had the show, what was that? I can't even remember that venue anymore, but it was when we had that. Yeah, Real Art. When we had the KGRG why can't I use words? When we had the show that was like KGRG, was kind of like a, we'll say fundraiser, but
yeah, it was like
they were.
What was it called? Oh my gosh, now I can't remember.
It was like, the Pledge Drive show.
Pledge Drive show.
Yeah, there we go. I remember because we did like all of our cheesy I almost said ads. I've been out of radio for so long. I kind of forgot all like the technical terms for everything now.
Yeah.
But we had all those like awful voice promos going on, and then we finally get to that event. And at that point, I'd maybe seen like 2 or 3 shows just in general. And I just remember us just hanging out, just vibing out. And halfway during one of their songs, they like point at us and they're like, "Yo, come up here." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know about this." And I'll dig up this photo. I'll post it on my Twitter later on. But there was a moment of like them playing on the band or playing on the stage, and us just awkwardly like hanging out on the stage, and then we just both like look at each other, just point at each other, like, "Yeah, this is us. Like, we're here."
The biggest smiles on both of our faces, and we were feeding off each other because like I was so happy that you were so happy, and it was really cool. So like we had made friends with this local band called These Young Fools that were around before both of our times.
Yeah.
And a little bit of history, when I did my first solo air shift, Michael Geissler from These Young Fools, now with his own website, bytourmusic.com, he because like I had put something on my Twitter saying like, "Oh, hey man, I'm taking song requests." He's like, "Well, can you play the song from my band? My band is These Young Fools, and here's the song, A Nice Place to Visit." And that was the first time I had gotten like a song request. I played it, and I really liked the song. It really stuck with me. And from there, Michael and I kind of became friends, and then we did a bunch of stuff with his band, and they came up for a show, and they played as These Young Fools. We got them to be a part of they agreed to be a part of that Pledge Drive show, and by that time we're all homies.
Yeah.
You know, just celebrating local independent music and celebrating community radio. And so the kind of culmination of that was when they invited us to come up on stage, and it was during them playing that song, A Nice Place to Visit, which, fun fact, is still my outro music on my podcast, Mike Seibert Radio.
Really?
To this day.
That's super awesome.
I got an instrumental version from Michael and his permission to play it. So that's the piece of KGRG that's always with me, and like all of the different content that I do. And then basically, like, as their band evolved, they wanted to move away from These Young Fools. They became Flicker and Fade, and we were a part of that. Like we had them on a couple times to talk about their EP, and then my last show was them coming in live as kind of like the debut of Flicker and Fade, and they played, you know, all these songs that they had kind of workshopped with us and let us in on the process about. So that's really what will always stick with me, is like, you know, kind of having that symbiosis with that band and those guys. And, you know, I mean, we became friends with those guys, you know, with Michael and Corey and Ryan, and that's something that I'll keep with me forever. It's just a really cool time and a really terrific experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and as we get closer to closing out, I mean, I can't believe our time is almost up already.
Right?
It's crazy. I mean, I just want to keep going as if it was like, you know, oh man, your show goes till 10. How about we go to 11? But again, we only have so much time, and we're so grateful to John Kasprick and JP for giving us the opportunity to kind of bring back our Monday project one last time here on Today's Rock on 89.9 KGRG FM. Let's talk a little about kind of what's going on with us now, and kind of life after KGRG a little bit, because we're you know, tell us about your Twitch stream.
All right, so I just want to shout out my Twitch chat right now. You guys have been really amazing. With that being said, I started Twitch streaming a little bit towards the ending of my time on radio. We had talked about the fact that I love gaming and all that stuff at the time, but I didn't realize just how powerful the gaming scene was. And about a year or two after I stopped with the radio station, I actually started playing Call of Duty competitively. And while I was doing that, I was like, all right, well, I'm pretty decent at this game, Call of Duty, but you know, I want other people to see how decent I am at it. And so then I started to really kind of buckle down and start Twitch streaming. And a really huge shout out to one of my buddies. His name is Emmy, which was really confusing because I'd talk about Emmy on the show and then while hanging out with the co-host Emmy, and so people were thought I was talking with the same person. Yes, different people. But one of my buddies, Emmy, he's been a Twitch streamer for as long as I can remember, and he's the reason why I even stream. I was always so inspired by his streams and by who he is as like a person that I was like, you know what, I want to do this. And it kind of went from something that I was like, you know what, this could be a hobby of mine. I kind of brought in a lot of the radio tendencies that I had, and I was like, all right, you know, I used to, before my streams, I would have like a set board of things I used to do. I had a segment on my stream the longest time ago that was 3 random facts from Elijah or something like that. Elijah's 3 random facts. And I used to do that on the Twitch stream and stuff like that. And I had to come up each week with something random to say. And so I was like, all right, this is really cool. And it went from being something that was a bit of a hobby to something that I now actually do. Like, I work at Spectrum and all that stuff, and that's like my day job. But I take Twitch as if it's a second job, so I'm putting in at least, you know, we'll say I'm putting in 40 plus hours at my actual job. I'm putting in almost amount of time into my streams, whether I'm actually streaming or not. I'm behind the scenes thinking of, all right, how can I make it better? And if you guys don't really know what Twitch is, it is a streaming service where you can usually play video games. It's a video based streaming service where people usually play video games or talk. They have podcasts or whatnot. I do gaming on it. I used to have a podcast, but that was kind of, it didn't stick really well. But it's something that, like I said, I've made more of a career. And actually, I'm not going to get too in depth about it, but because of it, I'm actually going to start running my own esports organization. And I'm going to be looking to actually pick up people to be streamers under my organization and kind of try to help them grow and teach them how to do this thing.
That's so cool. So that spirit of teaching and passing on to the next generation that you picked up in your time at KGRG is still continuing.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, it's going to be, I'm really excited. Like I said, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but the org's going to be Shadow Gaming. That's what it's going to be called. I'm really excited for it because it's, like, when I first started Twitch streaming, I was like, this is going to be something that's going to be, you know, a hobby of mine. It's going to be something cool. And the fact that it's so ingrained with who I am as a person. And it was funny because people have been like, oh, when you Twitch stream, oh, it's just going to be a fad, it's going to be a phase, no one's going to really actually care or whatnot, oh, you can't make money from it. And, like, I never really was huge about it with having it be for the money or whatnot, but it actually was something that, for a little bit of time, I was using it to actually pay my bills. Like, I was Twitch streaming and making enough that I could actually pay rent from it. And so it was like when I was actually able to do that, it was like a kind of surreal I'm here moment. Like, it was like, oh, people kept saying you can't do this, you can't do that, and I feel like my entire life was just hearing all that. And so being able to find that fun avenue in Twitch and be like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like, I can stream and have 20 viewers, 100 viewers, 1,000 viewers, and I can have 0 viewers. and it's just gonna be the same for me. I'm just gonna be having fun playing video games and talking to people.
Yeah, absolutely. And my trajectory was kind of very similar. Like so the skill set that I learned at KGRG was learning how to run live radio equipment at a professional level. But then also I learned podcasting and audio editing. So essentially I started a podcast while I was at Green River, as part of my coursework. Like there's like the first like half dozen episodes of Mike Seibert Radio, retroactively titled, is like my projects. That like there's like an interview podcast, there's a list podcast. It's all academic. But then in that whole vein of being bit by the bug and having that trajectory change for me, once my time at KGRG ended, I still so I was running a board professionally, but I wasn't necessarily talking into a microphone, so I was itchy.
Yeah.
And basically I resumed my podcast and just started talking about stuff and things that were on my mind.
Yeah.
And it's evolved over these last 7 years, but the largest evolution came in, I don't know, like 2018. I started getting involved with the Transformers fan community. I've been a fan of Transformers my whole life, and through podcasting and social media, I just came across this community of folks, and I started interviewing them and being on their shows, and they were on my shows. And kind of one of those things, before I realized it, I had accidentally become a Transformers podcast. like I wasn't talking about music as much anymore, because that music discovery had kind of faded. Not necessarily being connected to a current radio station that was into music. Again, I was entrenched in that news and talk lifestyle.
Yeah.
But then, I started going to conventions, and I had never been to a convention outside of Washington before. Now
really?
I've been to Transformers conventions in Chicago, in LA, and Toronto, and probably a couple other places that I can't think of off the top of my head, including being involved with our own Transformers convention here in the Pacific Northwest, Seibfest Northwest. CYBFESTNW.com. It's a local Transformers convention that's been here for the last 10 years. Just a couple weeks ago, we celebrated our 10th annual convention, and it was pretty terrific.
Dude,
so I found
awesome.
I found like this whole fandom that I didn't even know that was there, and it's just from doing stuff like this, interacting with people, connecting with people, talking on the radio, sharing stuff on social media, doing live streams, doing podcasts, doing social media. It's a really cool thing. So I didn't come out of KGRG wanting to get into Transformers. It just kind of found me, much like that springtime day when I came out of one of my IT classes and saw a flyer that says "Be on the Radio." I've throughout the entirety of my career, it's been just kind of like, oh, this is cool. Yeah. Let me find this. And then I end up finding a passion I didn't know that I had. And I am so grateful to Green River College and KGRG and everybody who has been a mentor to me. And a lot of folks, I have learned lessons of how to do things. I've learned lessons about how not to do things. I've seen examples of being the broadcaster that I didn't want to be, that I occasionally became at times. So, learning by example and things like that. But really, it's the learning and teaching that I found most appealing about the KGRG experience. And really, it gave me my first platform to talk about stuff that I was passionate about with my friends.
Yeah.
So
that's super awesome. Actually, kind of what I'm super excited about is that Kaylee, who was one of my interns and then co-host on the Monday Project before she ended up leaving, she actually just joined the stream. So I asked her what her thoughts on it, and she said it was super awesome, met a lot of people, discovered a lot of really good music, and she loves looking back on her time at KGRG. So, yeah. I was really excited that she was able to come in and actually come give her thoughts. But I feel the same way too, though. Like, being able to actually, have that community that we were able to kind of build. Especially because, like, really quickly on the nostalgia train, but, like, it was really awesome being able to come back as guests and then have people call in who hadn't called in for X amount of months and be like, yo, I haven't heard you in so long. The radio hasn't been the same without you. Like, kind of one of those things. Like, you really realize just how much of an impact that you actually had.
Absolutely. So yeah, as we get ready to close out, I know I've pushed that a couple times now. I know. Dinner is coming.
Yes,
but man, take us there. Eh? Anything, the floor is yours. I mean,
okay.
It's your stream, it's my podcast, it's our radio show, it's all of that. But like, I saw a comment here. This cracks me up. Shout out to Baby Saver 11. He talks a lot, but your friend is good. Were you supposed to talk more? And unfortunately, yeah, it's just like once I get going, and Elijah well knows. And in fact, one of the dynamics that we had was like, you know, I put an emphasis on you running the controls and like leaving me to just kind of talk, because like that's how I did at my job, at my professional radio job. And I'm like, let me give you some real world experience. Check this out. And that put you in charge of the sound effects, and it radically altered the sound of the show. And I always thought it was so cool, kind of like you having that creative control. But I'm going to shut up for a sec. Anything you want to say, man.
Okay, so first, when you get the chance, I'm going to, he actually just asked for your link or your info. So I'll definitely...
I'll post it in the chat here.
One thing that I'll say is, I'll really quickly go through another old story. So what you guys don't know is that before I got the gamer tag and all that stuff, when I first had a Twitter, I actually used it specifically for the radio stuff, because it was you had me running the radio Twitter, and so I was like, well, it doesn't make sense for me to run the radio Twitter and then not have my own Twitter account. The fact that I ran the soundboard actually led to my very first radio name. That was Airhorn Elijah. And that's because every time that I would come in, Mike would do his intro and stuff like that. And we had this air horn sound that we found. And anytime like something happened or whatnot, I just press it whenever I could. And people... for whatever reason, people loved it. They just really was super for it. And so, yeah, we had me as Airhorn Elijah. I'd play it, and that was part of my intro. It was like, hey, it's Mike, and we have on the controls Airhorn Elijah, and I would just go ham on that thing, and it was awful. It was so bad that it was good. And then after that, I can't really say kind of where it actually became a thing, but out of nowhere it just went from, I have auto mod that disables links. Send it to me on Facebook. I'll grab it and I'll post it for you.
All right.
But we out of kind of nowhere, it went from being Airhorn Elijah to someone being like, yo, Big E. And I was like, you know what? I can kind of get behind that. And so then, yeah, I ended up being Big E from KGRG. That was my Twitter handle and everything. And we ran with that for a while.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, I can't remember his name right now. We had that one person that would call in to our show when it was me and you, Mike, and then he ended up still calling when it was me, Kaylee, and DK, not DK, sorry, me, Kaylee, and Dez, and now I can't remember who that was.
Dirty Dean?
Dirty Dean, yes.
Dirty Dean.
Yes, he used to call in all the time, and it was such a great time every time, especially because like it would be the most random things ever. Like we would be in the middle of talking, and he would call in to talk about whatever it was on his mind.
Hey, yo. You know, I just want Elijah to know that he's doing such a great job. Bye. Click.
Yeah, and it was like, dude, like, okay, well, thank you. As I was saying, and then we'd get back to the topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had him. Oh, and then we Superman from space.
Yeah.
Oh man, we had
too punk for pants.
We had so many characters I used to call,
yeah.
Dude. It was the times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's that's what I got for you.
Yeah. No. Good stuff, dude. But I think our time runs out, unfortunately. But what that means, though, is that maybe we'll just do this again sometime. So this will show up on KGRG at some point. I'm hoping this will air Monday night. But then it's also, I'm going to use this audio for my podcast.
Yeah.
So Elijah's throwing the links in there. And then, yes, please do it again. We got to do this format again. And just do it as just like a crossover collab type of thing. Because, yeah, this is really getting my nostalgia tingles up. Because it really, even though we're doing it remote, it has a lot of the same energy that we had when we used to do those Monday nights back in the day. This has been great. Oh yeah, no, dude, like it was one of those things that it's funny because I like I said, I tried doing some podcasting afterwards. I used to have a podcast called IRL. Yeah.
And that was kind of me doing like, hey, gaming is huge, but this is like the actual behind the scenes. This is where, you know, people in gaming have depression and stuff like that. I tried to make that a thing. And I realized that, like, it was super great, but I was so used to having that back and forth that it got hard because, like, half the time I wanted to interview so many people. And then it got to the point where I got out of people to interview, and it was like, well, I don't know. This isn't supposed to be my therapy. I'm not supposed to just tell people I'm depressed every day.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry. But yeah, it's definitely something that, you know, I'm like, I have that blood pumping again. Like, this has been so much fun that I'm just like, you know, I can make it work.
Well, yeah, man, and if you want to be in the hot seat just like us and want to do the KGRG experience and go through the journalism program at Green River College, go to greenriver.edu or kgrg.com to find out more details. Fall quarter starts in September. Registration is open now. I can't recommend that experience enough. So if I haven't told enough stories, it's literally a life-changing experience. Whatever trajectory I was on before, that experience going through Green River College and going through KGRG altered the trajectory of my life. I'm a broadcaster now, and there's no going back.
Yeah. Well, dude, if I had never went to KGRG, there's no way that I'd be a Twitch streamer right now. I would never have had that ability to kind of just run with it.
Before we part ways, do you want to let folks know where we can find you on the internet and how we can catch up with you on social medias?
Yeah, so you can find me in three major places. I am on Instagram and Twitter. Those are going to be the same handles. That's going to be Drace34, DRAYCE34. And then you could also find me here on Twitch. I stream every weekday and sometimes on the weekends. That will also be Drace34. Again, that's DRAYCE34.
Nice. Very cool. And folks can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Mike Seibert Radio. As long as you start typing in Seibert for the spelling of my name, you should be able to figure me out. I'm not the Mars rover guy. But like usually like having Mike Seibert Radio in there or Mike Seibert Radio podcast, you'll be able to find me easily enough. You can find my podcast everywhere you get podcasts. I've also started a second podcast called Two Mikes, Too Furious, where me and another guy named Mike go through Transformers Animated from 2008. It's a cartoon I've never seen, but he's a super fan of it, and we're going through one episode at a time, discussing each episode in great detail. It's a really fun show, and for anybody who knows anything about Transformers, that Transformers Animated is a very different show from stuff that folks are familiar with, and I'm really digging it, and I'm really excited to share that with my buddy, Other Mike. But you can find Mike Seibert Radio on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts, as well as I've got a YouTube channel as well. I do live streams that are in a very similar format to what we're doing here. And yeah, it's good times. And if you want to keep up with KGRG, there is the website, kgrg.com, and you can also download the app on your favorite device and keep what's current with 89.9 on KGRG FM. And I think that will wrap it up for this particular special KGRG alumni show. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for listening and for hanging out with us and sharing memories. And until next time, make good choices. Or don't.
I missed hearing that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we did it.
Yeah, that was I got that nostalgia feeling. That I feel like, I mean, even though we're not in the radio station, I feel like we're about to go down those stairs, go out that really shady little building.
It really does. It really feels that way. Like, we're gonna go like through the dark and try not to get accosted in the parking lot. Man, fun times. Aggressively unsafe.
Oh yeah, not at all. Not
at all.
Not at all.
Oh man, I love the love that you're getting in your comments here.
Yeah,
This is dope.
My stream, you guys are crazy. Like, you guys don't understand. I'm gonna try not to get too sentimental, but to be able to fuse two things that were so big in my life, like the radio was huge for me, and then to be able to bring my Twitch stream into it and have you guys kind of see just how big this was for me. It's like one of those surreal moments where I'm just like, oh crap, like this is where I am right now.
I just got to remember. So what we need to do is I need to come on your show again where we're not trying to like double repurpose it.
Yeah.
And let you talk for a while.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I do have the best mod team, Chav. No, what's something that was really cool is that when I was doing the IRL stream, is that people really, like, it was really cool realizing that people really do like podcasts. And so, like, it's really crazy kind of because I keep getting that text or that, people in the stream, they're like, when's the podcast coming back? When's the podcast coming back?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, I don't know. And so it's like really cool being able to like visually look at this and just be like, wow, people like really care.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And people clearly love you, dude. So we're definitely going to have you come back.
Hell yeah. No, this was dope. I wasn't expecting that kind of reaction at all, because we had been doing radio, and all you have is somebody calling on the phone, and it's like, hey, yo, you guys are awesome. Click.
You're right.
So funny.
Dude, it's funny because like since I'm at Spectrum now, it's funny being like having having landlines and trying to sell it to college kids and being like, oh, hey, you know, I know you're only here for internet, you might want to use streaming or whatnot, but if you have a landline, you can do this or this and that, and they just look at me like, what's a landline?
That's so funny. I love it.
It was so fun operating the phones and everything.
Good stuff, man. Well, anything else before we part ways? Because I know, as we predicted, kind of went over time, and I watched 9:45 come and go, and I'm just like, so that's usually where I threw in, like, as we try to wrap up, you know, kind of thing. But,
Say it's the way that we did it on the show. We say as we're trying to wrap up an hour before we're going to wrap up. Gabby, literally. he can see you guys right now. I'm assuming that he can see you guys.
Oh yeah, I've got it open. Yeah, I can see the chat.
so you could tell him that he's pretty. But this has definitely been a blast. My same schedule is going to be my same schedule, so we definitely got to do this again sometime. Especially that.
Hell yeah.
I'm now that I'm going to be taking a huge step back when it comes from gaming, because I'm going to be running the org and everything, which I'm super excited to tell you about because it's huge for me. But since I'm going to be taking that step back from competitive gaming, I have so much time to do a lot of things, and it's been weird having so much time to do that many things. So I know that if I say that I'll for sure make sure that you are back. All right, I'm not going to hype that too much before everyone in the chat loses their mind yet once again. But I will definitely have that time for you, and vice versa. If you ever are looking for someone to come talk on your show, I will be there.
Hell yeah. I love it.
Chop, I love you too.
Oh my gosh, that's good stuff, man. All right. Well, I think we did it. I think
we might have a couple things here.
Yeah. So I'll get to editing, and I'll see what I can do. I'll kind of see how it
flows,
manifests. Yeah.
I was gonna say, you're gonna get to the point where you're trying to chop things up, and you're just like, shit.
Yeah.
John's gonna look at. You're gonna give John something that's gonna be like an hour and 30 minutes. He's just gonna look at you like, what are you talking? What is this? Why am I? Oh wait, hold on. Let me just. It's like, are you still here, Mike? Oh, there you are.
I don't know why that happened. I was just hitting the buttons.
I was gonna say, I was like, oh, maybe it's just me. And then I was like, nah, there's something weird going on. And then I was like, oh wait, it is just me.
Yeah, no, I hit the button on my StreamYard to take me back to the dashboard for some reason. I was gonna start downloading recordings. I was like, but I'm still on the stream. I'm still talking. What the hell?
Yeah, no. What I was saying is that John's gonna see your compilation. That's gonna just be like an hour and 30 minutes. He's just gonna look at you like, this is what I thought.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm sure I can trim it a bit, but we'll see how that goes.
Oh, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
I realized that you didn't have the Monday Project stuff on SoundCloud anymore. Do you have like an archive of that somewhere? Do you have? Okay.
Yeah. So that podcast link I sent you has all my episodes on there.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So I moved off of SoundCloud because it was getting too expensive and not giving me what I wanted. But so I'm on a new podcast platform now. But let me send you a link to that as well.
Okay.
But yeah, basically, I mean, all the shows are still up there. So like the entirety of the Monday Project during my time that I was recording, that's all still there.
Guys, all right. When I get that link,
But yeah, the SoundCloud, that stuff's gone.
All right, guys. When I get that link, you guys are gonna have to do a little bit of digging. There is one of our segments, which was probably the most iconic segments for me, at least, and that's when I fell asleep during the Grammys. That's gotta be
my God, yes.
We actually used that as like part of our production pieces. Like, it was one of the things that was just like a mainstay for the show. I will definitely go digging myself. I'm gonna find one of those clips because you guys don't understand like how crazy like those days were. Like,
that was pretty fun. and then the whole make Mike cringe thing. That was
oh my gosh, those were so good.
Buddy, I have got to tell you this story. You will not believe me when I tell you this story.
Oh?
I was out shopping a couple weeks ago. I was in Federal Way. And I was there with my wife. She was we were looking for shoes for her for a wedding that we were going to.
Yeah.
We were in the like DSW or whatever the hell that shoe store in Federal Way is. And I'm looking around. I see a dude that looks kind of familiar, and I'm like, kind of like looking. Malcolm.
No way.
And I like came around the car. I'm like, hey buddy, how's it going? And he looks at me with like the who the hell are you look. And I'm like, oh shoot, he doesn't recognize me. I was like, I just kind of waved and awkwardly shambled away. I didn't know what to do. But yeah. So I saw Malcolm at the shoe store, and he didn't recognize me.
There's no way.
I'm telling you, man, it was the darndest thing. And I think I was there with my wife. He was there with like maybe like his grandma or something. I don't know, but yeah, it was. It was pretty interesting.
No, that's crazy. I actually I was back west for a couple weeks ago because I went I flew out to Florida, which by the way, I just want to throw this out here now.
Yeah.
In the nicest way possible. Why can't we teleport? Somebody make teleporting a thing. If I have to get on one more flight, I'm going to lose my mind. It is not a fun experience.
Exactly.
But no, I went west and I went to go hang out with my parents for like a day or two. Actually, it was the time before that. Doesn't matter. Point is, I was there and I had texted Malcolm. I was like, "Hey, yo, come through or whatnot." And Malcolm, being the same Malcolm that he is, he was just like calling me, texting me halfway through, like, "Hey, is it okay if I come over? Is your mom gonna be okay if I come over?" Yeah. I'm like, dude, I don't live here. Like, sure. Like, if you're not allowed to come over, like, it's gonna be news for the both of us, buddy. Like, yeah, no, right. It was great being able to see him again. I had to. I'm gonna have to find a way. Hopefully my car gets fixed, and I'll be able to drive out. I gotta see what the station looks like now. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Is it accessible on weekends, or do you have to have a guest pass for that?
You got to get escorted.
Okay, I will find a way to get escorted.
Like actually escorted. It's pretty wild.
I will find a way because, yeah, I haven't seen the station in a long time. Do they still have the banners? Like the...
I think so, maybe?
Do people still sign them? I'm assuming not, because that kind of died out when we were...
Yeah.
That's so unfortunate. I think I still have my portion of it before they tore it down. Because I remember they had to tear them, and I was like, wait, hold on, let me get my signature.
Yep.
But that was like kind of... For you guys still in the stream, I'm about to end stream here in a second. But we had like a rite of passage at the radio station where like you didn't like you belonged at the radio station no matter what, but like you weren't like really a part of the station until you signed your name on that wall. It was like your way of really, really cementing your time at the radio.
Absolutely.
Gabby, I have to eat.
Yeah, I was gonna say And yeah, I'll keep trying to see if I can find this direct link for like the full archive. But like, yeah, basically, like if you could find Mike Seibert Radio, you'll find everything there. You want to. So like, I've done like 300 episodes since. So yeah, you want to, if you go deep down in the feed, you'll see some they're labeled Monday Project.
Yeah.
And you want like the low numbered ones.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I will find, dude. If there's a will, there's a way. I will find it.
Yeah. I'll dig around and see if I can find some more direct links, and I'll share those with you, and you can feel free and share them with your folks. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Stream. I am going to get ready to get out of here. Gabby, no, I don't hate you. Chav, I might join up. I don't know. It's pancake time, bro. I'm hungry. So, stream. Thank you guys for being here so much. If you guys look at that pinned post, if you want to find Mike's radio and his podcasting, that is the place to go. Dig deep, go look for those Monday Project episodes, but in the meantime, go listen to him. He's got some really awesome stuff, and he's gonna be a blast to listen to. Thank you guys for being here. I love you guys. Everyone, show some love to Mike before I close this thing out, please.
Oh, that's so sweet. Everybody's awesome. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Hand kisses.
Stream, I'll be back tomorrow night. You guys, he always says make good choices. All I ask is you guys just to be back.
I love it.
Oh yeah, they're never this nice at all. They're so rude to me. But yeah. Okay, I'm about to press end stream.